So have you ever had a goal where you're working so well towards it and then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock at night and you eat a big nice chocolate bar and you feel really bad about it and you've got all this food guilt associated with it? Well, hi, my name is Mark Katobri, and in this video I'm going to be talking today about food and guilt. So let's talk about guilt first. Guilt is an emotion, and to feel it, it's a remembered emotion. So to feel guilt, you have to remember something that you've done in the past. So that's where your judgment and perception around what you've done has caused you more harm than good. So in this case of what we're talking about, you're working well towards your goal. Maybe you're prepping for a show, and now you've for whatever reason it is, you've woken up at 10 o'clock at night and you've devoured an entire pantry of goodies. And now you're feeling pretty bad because you've self-sabotaged your goal. Now let's look at that situation for a moment. What usually happens after that? Well, usually people continue. They continue with their guilt, and it's actually guilt that keeps them stuck and in that state of stasis and continues them eating the wrong foods and doing the wrong things. Because ultimately I think what happens is you set a commitment to yourself. You've said, I'm going to do something, and you've broken that commitment. And because you've broken that commitment, you'll feel bad because you've broken your word, which some people might say, well, that's a good thing. You should feel bad because it's going to put you back on track, but only if it actually worked. So my advice in terms of coaching food guilt and that kind of thing, well, is to first understand why it happens, okay? And it could have happened for a variety of different reasons. And you need to understand the difference between the act and I suppose the actor, right? So you yourself, you need to separate what you did in terms of eating, everything in the pantry as just an isolated an event, and you need to ask questions around, well, why did I eat those foods at that? And it could be a multitude of different reasons why you did. And this is where self-analysis is a really great tool to really uncover why you do these behaviors. So let's start with, if you are going through a stressful period. I know I've gone through many stressful periods in my life, going through one right now actually, and I found myself the other night in front of the pantry eating a few different things that I perhaps shouldn't have if I'm trying to get super lean and stick to my goals. And I reflected on the day that I had, and I thought, I'm essentially self-medicating right now. I'm ramping up serotonin by eating what's sugary and telling my brain that it's okay to calm down. The war is over kind of thing, right? So this is where you need to look at why you're doing those things. If you're eating late at night and late night snacking because of malnutrition, or your diet doesn't have the right nutrients happening continually and regularly, you want to look at your diet in context of what's actually going into your body from the course of the day or course of the week, and why is it always happening at these times? And then when you do, I suppose, get rid of guilt and you collapse any emotions that are around guilt, it's then that you have most options. It's when you have self-reflection, you have most options, not when you're feeling guilty. When you're feeling guilty about things, you only have wrong and right. When you're feeling open to the lesson that's learning, and get rid of the guilt, because guilt will only make you feel more guilt, and guilt ultimately will make you feel more obliged to do something that you can't do, and perhaps you're even living outside of your values, trying to do something that perhaps isn't really the most important thing to you. But not getting rid of the guilt, you open yourself up to strategies for coping. So let's say, for example, you might say, well, I'm going to eat better foods, or I'm going to supplement with something later in the day, maybe 5-HTP or inositol or magnesium, to calm down my brain. I'm going to change my nutrition. I'm going to put carbs at the end of the day rather than at the start of the day, so my brain gets that better feeling, so I can sleep better. I'm going to change my training around, maybe rest more, do some breathing, do some yoga, speak to a friend as a routine thing before night. You have a lot more options there, but it ultimately comes through self-reflection. Now, depending on what you're going through, you could have very valid reasons for self-medicating, let's say, at night with food. I mean, a lot of people do it with drugs, some people do it with alcohol, but understanding why you do it, I think, is more important, because then you have options to change your actions in terms of what you're doing. So, in summary, if you're quote-unquote self-sabotaging through late-night eating and feeling really, really guilt about it, just stop. Stop feeling the guilt. Look at what you're doing objectively, and understand that every time you feel the guilt, it's only going to spiral you into more guilt. It only is useful if it helps you get back on track, and usually, in my experience of working with people, it doesn't. So enjoy the late night snacks rather than making yourself feel guilty. Get over it, and get back to plan first thing Monday morning. Reinstate your word to yourself, and you can do that with very small actions. You say, I'm going to make my bed this morning, and you make your bed. You've got to give yourself small instructions that reinvigorate your command, because discipline ultimately is giving yourself a command and following through. And doing that enough times will make your word ironclad. And look, it happens to the best of us. It happens to the best competitors. Get over it. Move forward. Don't focus on the event. It was only a small thing in the portion of time. You can get through it. Just keep moving and create new actions. Thanks for watching. If you need a hand, reach out to us at enterpriseinfo@enterprisefitness.com.au. Until next time, train hard, supplement smart, and eat well.